Hello everyone, I hope you're well. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I thought I'd pop by and we'd create another journal page. I'm really enjoying my journal at the moment and just experimenting, and then I've got a little book to look back on. I'm really enjoying them. So I thought I'd create another one, and this time I'm going to use my Abutulon stamp TE7. I just adore the detail on these stamps. Just move some things out of the way that I was doing this morning that are nothing to do with this project, but they're totally in the way now. Typical. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use an A6 acrylic block. It doesn't matter what size acrylic block you use. Let's just move this out of the way. And I'm using the same journal I've used for the previous journal pages. It's just over 5 inches and just over 8 inches for each page. It's got watercolour pages, so it takes the ink and water nicely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply, do I want it? There we go, yeah. I'm going to apply some Distress Oxide ink to my acrylic block. And this is salvaged patina. So we've got the salvaged patina on there. So I'm going light first. Then my mid colour is Salty Ocean, but I don't want to cover the whole lot with Salty Ocean. And then I'm going to use Uncharted Marina, which I like how I can't speak. And I don't want to add too much of that dark colour either, because we don't want to cover up all of the salvage patina. Not that that matters, we can add more anyway. So let's just give that a nice spritz with water. Now this page will take the water and ink very nicely. So if I just left it on there, you'd get lots of open space. I'm just going to press a little bit so that those inks make contact nicely with my page. My page is, I'm coming towards the end of the journal, so I just need to press a little bit more. And you can leave that on there for a few seconds, because if I lift it up, the colour sort of just into it then will just sort of all move in to the centre, which is fine. That's also a lovely background. But if I just give that a little bit longer, just to rest on that watercolour card, just so that some of the colour absorbs into my page. So I just need to give that a few moments. And obviously patience does help. Can you see? The minute I lift the page, can you see where the ink's moving? So if I lift this now, it didn't all move into the centre, so that's lovely. And we've got a lovely background. Right, where is... just going to grab some kitchen roll. Like so. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this as my palette. Now you can see you've got some lovely light colours on there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit more of the Uncharted Marina. So I'll just use the acrylic block as my paint palette. And I'm using my paintbrush. Mine isn't a water brush. Yes, it looks like a water brush, but it's actually broken. But I actually like the brush on there. So we'll spritz our palette here with the Uncharted Marina, and we can just spritz the edges a little bit, because you don't want it to look too sort of regimented. So I'm just adding a few little touches of that darker colour, just to give it a little bit more. And I like when I've got areas missing. I don't like it too sort of regimented, and I like it when you've got little bits moving and spreading out. So I quite like that. Looks a little bit more natural for me. So let me just add that. Bear with me a second. So there we go. I was just telling my son that Mitzi, my Alder dog, is barking, and there's always a reason that she's barking. So with me being up here, just thought I would let Ryan know, so we can just go down and check on it. So can you see I'm just adding some of those darker areas. Now if you want to, you can just turn your acrylic block over and simply add it to the background. However, I didn't want to do that because I've got quite a nice sort of arrangement. I've got quite a nice shape to that, and I love how it's all mixing and the colours are working beautifully. So I didn't want to then place the acrylic block back on top and change that. Now those of you that have been watching my journal pages, you'll see that I don't rush the process, I just take my time. So I'm going to give that a little bit of a dry. There's lots of water here, but if I dab that with the kitchen towel, that will just lighten the area, and I don't really want to do that. I just want to keep the colour where it is because it's looking rather nice. So I'm just going to hold this a little bit further up as well, just so that we don't move that colour, just so that it stays where it is. I don't want to sort of excuse me, I don't want don't want to blow it over here. The more I come down, the more the colour moves. So you can see I'm holding this a little bit higher up. So we'll just give that a little bit of time just to dry that off. And I need to make sure it's dry because I'm going to attempt to stamp onto here. So because I'm attempting to stamp onto here, you know, I'm not going to get a perfect image because it's lumpy and bumpy, because it's a watercolour card. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dry it from the reverse. And just give that a nice... Let's just feel how dry it is. Obviously I won't put my hand on there yet, but I love sort of random backgrounds like that because you sort of get these areas of the darker colour where I've dabbed that on. You also get areas missing, and for me that's just more appealing. You know, if you like it perfectly regimented, that's entirely up to you, it's your page. Now I'm just, it's still a bit wet, it's still a bit wet down there. Let's just give that a dry. So I'm just going to test how firm. It seems firm enough. Do I think I need a book underneath? Let's have a think. I spent half my time thinking. If I put a book underneath, it gives me a more solid background, she says as she shakes the camera. But don't forget, this is a lumpy and bumpy page because it's watercolour. So let's just, right. So what I've got then is I've got my Abutalon stamp, which I'm going to use. Just trying to decide how I want to do this. Oh, no. Let's go. You know, I can never decide. I never make my mind up. So I've got the Embossing stamp, and I'm using the packaging just to check where I want that. So I'm going to use my black Nocturne ink, and I'm just going to give that a really good inking. Make sure this is nice and dry, your page. Don't try and stamp onto a damp, soaking wet page. And look how many times I am patting that stamp. So do I want that? Now, can you see my problem? So I now need that to... These are the things you have to think about, obviously, when you're doing a journal page. So let's just ink this again, mainly to press it back down onto the acrylic block. Could you see my problem? So let's just press that down. Could you see the problem before? Let me just move this down. My acrylic block touched the page at the top, therefore I couldn't press it down onto my page, so I had to move the stamp a little bit further up onto the acrylic block. So what I'm doing is I'm just giving that a little bit of time just to absorb onto the surface. Obviously we've had that moisture in there, and even though we've dried it, there will still be moisture on that page. So just give it a few moments just to absorb onto the page. I'm just pressing around the stamp just evenly. And there we've got a beautiful, let's just lift that up, a beautiful image. So then I'm sure I've got a mask ready. Let's have a look. It's obviously never the first one that I go to, but I've got that many masks here. And of course, if I was half organised, I would have got this out beforehand, but I wasn't, because I ummed and ahed whether I was doing the video or what. So there's my little mask. So I place those back into my wallet and place them on one side, and now I've got my little mask I can add to my page. There we go. And I've kept the book underneath my page just so that I've got a really solid surface just to stamp on. Now let's give that a really good inking once again. And take your time. And don't be in too much of a rush to not ink your stamps enough. Let's just wipe that edge, and then we'll just add that stamped image here. So again, adding that Embossing, and I can just press with one finger. I can just have one or two fingers holding this in place. Never remove all your fingers from your acrylic block, because that's when you will get rocking. Just keep that in place. Always keep two fingers in place. And then just don't press at all. Just allow it just to sit on there and absorb into that card without doing anything. Just so that it absorbs into the card, because if you lift it too soon, you can't expect the print and the ink to take on that page, particularly if it is as wet as I've added to the page. So now that one appears behind that one, so lovely. So then we can place this one here, again using our mask. And you can faff for England, making sure that book is still under my page. And it's nice sometimes just doing, well, not just doing, just having a little play in your journal, just playing with ideas, or just getting your stamps out and actually using them, which for me is vital. Now, let's bring it down here a bit, like so. Hopefully you can still see, and I'm in camera. So again, you can just let it rest there, just so that it's absorbing onto the card with you having all that moisture in there. And I can just use my one finger just to press around, place those two fingers there, and then press around the left hand side. And just give that a little bit of time just to absorb into the card. Just don't be in too much of a rush, especially if you've got a stamp that's got quite a bit of detail on there. And that's why the VersaFine Clairs are so good, because they pick up all that fine detail in your stamp. There we go. So we'll just place that back in our, I may still need that actually, just may still need that. So let's place our Abutilon flower back. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to blot the images. I don't need to keep the book underneath now. But blotting those images, there's not much ink that's coming off, which means I've dried the page quite well. But because I'm going to add colour to these, I'm just going to dry them a little bit, because when I colour them, I don't want the Prismacolor to pick up the black ink, which it does have a tendency to do. So we just dry that off a little bit. Right, let's grab our pencils. That pencil was already out, so let's grab some pencils. Again, Tracy's just going by the look of them because that's me all over. So that was a creamy yellow, so we have some orange, and let's have a nice deep. I have no idea what colours I'm picking, but there you go. That's me all over. Right, let's move these out of the way. Now, because I've got this page, I'm just going to lean on some copier paper. So I want the darkest colour first. So I've got Crimson Red PC 924. I've just realised I haven't got the greens out. I need the greens for the top of my floral. So let's get some greens out as well, because we really need to do the greens first. So I'll just have a light colour, and I think we'll just have a darkish colour. We don't need three colours for the top. Okay. And you'll know me by now, I do like to make sure that I've got a sharpish pencil. So what I'm going to do is just colour a little bit of the sort of the top of the floral. I will tell you the colour, which is often helpful. I will tell you that colour. Let me just grab. So the actual dark green I'm using is Peacock Green, PC 907. I'm just using the darker green just at the very edges, just on the top, just at the very edges. And then I'm going to use my Chartreuse PC989 just to blend that colour. Just to, and I will come in with my white pencil here, which I never seem to grab, do I? But we'll grab our white pencil just so that we can do that. So we may as well do all three. So again, with that darkest green, and you can see where my fingers are on the pencil. They're quite high up, just so that I don't press too hard. Make sure you can see what I'm actually doing. And just add a little bit of that green. I love colouring this one in because the transformation is just wonderful. So then we'll go to the Chartreuse. I like saying that name as well, can you tell? Just go into your dark colour with the Chartreuse. There we go. Oh, let's do the third one as well. It would be better if the pencils were a little bit sharper, to be fair. Works a lot better. Do you know, I spend my life getting up and down. We will sharpen that Chartreuse one, especially when we're just getting in to blending. I have got some sharpenings. Look, I've kept some sharpenings. I'm thinking I might create a background with them. Yes, I know. What am I like? So just make that a bit sharper. That's not sharp enough, Tracy. Just makes it a little bit easier to work with. So what I'm going to do now is just come in and fill in a little bit more of the white spaces in the card. And that's when I begin to blend. But I don't want to add too much pressure. So let's just go in with that darker colour, that peacock green, just on the bottom edges. And you can see that you are blending a little bit more as you fill in the white areas on your card. Okay, so let's bring in the Chartreuse and let's blend out our lines just so that it's a little bit smoother. So just blend that out. So just blending out those dark green lines. Now, can you see where you've got the open area here, which was on, if it was on white card, would be white. Obviously, it's blue. Let me just hold this up a bit. It's blue underneath there. Let's just add a little bit more Chartreuse. So what I'm going to do is where this blue area is here, I'm going to blend the colours with the white, because that will drag the colour. Can you see it picks up some of the camera? Let's put that down. You will see it picks up some of the green, and that blends the edges, but we no longer have that blue centre. So let's just do that again. So you no longer have that blue centre. It's sort of like a ombre effect, and it just gets rid of that blue area, but also blends the edges out. Okay. And before you use your white to go to another colour, you can just take the little bit of green that you've picked up off your pencil, and that's done. So what we're going to do now, we're going to colour our floral, and I love colouring this one just because of the transformation. No, we don't want that green, do we? So let's take Crimson Red PC924. I'm just lightly going to add a little bit of the red, but not much, just a little bit, just at the very edges. So a very light touch of the red. Just bring a light touch. When you first put the colours down and you add this light touch of colour, you don't think it's going to come to life, but it does. So then I'm going to go to my mid colour, which is Pale Vermilion. We're just going to add a little bit of the orange. I didn't add any red there. How funny, I've done that on all three as well. No, I did that one. So we're going to add the light vermilion. There we go. Just add that. And then I'm going to come in with creamy yellow, and we'll just blend the edges of that together. But again, you've not got that blend because you're just adding light layers of that colour. So there is no blend at the moment because you've still got open white areas in that floral. So I'm going to come back in with the Crimson Red, and I'm just going to layer another layer of that colour. And as you add that other layer of colour, you can actually see the white areas of your paper. You can see that you're actually filling them in. Let's go up into there. So as you fill the white areas in, it starts to get a little smoother, which is what you want. So just come in with that red. I'm not pressing, even though my hands, my fingers are a bit further down on the pencil. I'm still not pressing too hard. I'm then going to go to the light vermilion, and I'm just going to go into the red can just blend a little bit more. Again, just using a circular motion just to blend that out. And as you build up the layers of your colour, it really does start to come to life. So then I'm going to go to my creamy yellow and just come in and go into the orange and just blend. There we go. So again, I am not pressing too hard. I'm just coming into the orange just to blend those lines out. Okay, then I'm going to come in with a third layer. So now you can see where my fingers are. I'm just going to press a little bit firmer. Now, really having your pencil to a nice sharp point really helps at this stage. And now you're really smoothing out the open areas on your page. You're working more layers into your card, which then you're filling in more of those white spaces on your card or paper or whatever, and it becomes a bit smoother. And obviously we will add some touches of white as well. Just blend those colours. And I just lose myself when I'm colouring. So then I'm going to go to the light vermilion. And with that light vermilion, pressing a little bit harder and just smoothing out the edges of the red. Don't ask me why I did the middle floral first. And just smooth out those areas, those edges of the red. And when you're blending, you can do it slower than this as well. You can add really light layers. So then we'll go to our creamy yellow. And you're just going to blend the edges, the orange, you're going to go into the orange and you're just going to blend the edges just so that we don't have any harsh edges. And I can't emphasize enough just having a sharp pencil, even though I haven't here, it needs sharpening. So then we've got those blue edges again. So I'm going to come in and just blend the edges with my white pencil, just so we haven't got that blue. So we're just blending the edges. So even though I've created a blue background, we can just remove that from the floral. And I just think this floral comes to life. We're going to add white areas to that, but we'll do that when that's just rested a little bit. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take our detail white embossing powder and we're going to add a little bit of white. Now, you've got moisture on that page. Doesn't matter how much you've dried it. There is definitely moisture in there. So just wipe over with an anti-static bag. And then I'm going to use this one. I'm going to use Background Elements TE11 just to add some text to the background. So, oh, nearly used the wrong ink pad then. I must have it still out somewhere. Yes, I have. I was too organised for my own good. So we'll take our Versamark. Now, never work over your project like I'm doing. I'm only working over the project just so that you can see exactly what I'm doing. There we go. Can't see what's happening. So let's have another piece of copier paper. And this is what I adore about this stamp, and I'll never get bored of this stamp with the florals. Come on, Tracy, turn the page. Look, I can't turn my piece of paper. There we go. And this is why I adore this stamp. Let me lift this up. Look at that, how it adds just a fine detail. I just adore that stamp. Absolutely adore it. Right, so we'll use that Versamark. Shall we add a bit there? Again, I know it's a little bit of a more tedious way. I've just got to fold this page. It's all crumpled and I know it's a little bit longer winded, but I can't see where I've stamped unless I add the embossing powder as we go along. And it really does sort of give you an idea of how your project's going to look. And there's something about this text that just gives that little bit of something to the project. Right, let's heat that up, just see what we've got. So let's heat our heat tool up. Just takes a little bit of time, just while that heats up, because there's no point me just holding the heat tool just on the page when it's not actually doing anything. So we're literally just allowing that to heat up. Right, there we go, we're starting to turn. Lovely. And it's just the right amount of white. Yummy, just yummy. I mean, look at that. That white on there. It's just yummy. Yummy, yummy, yummy. I know, I am strange. So then I'm going to take my spit it out now, Tracy, 3 1/4 inch circle. I need a pen. So I'm going to take my 3 1/4 inch circle. Or is it 3? It's either 3 1/4 or 3 3/4, but it doesn't matter as long as it's sort of, you can add it to your page. I'm just using a black biro, nothing special. So nothing special here, just a black biro that you just write with day to day. So then you add a little circle to your page, and then you get your pencils out again, which you've just put away somewhere. Let's just grab a little piece of copy paper and let's have a look at my pen. It's no wonder I end up with like 50 pencils to put back. You look like a nice colour. Yeah, that is light aqua, and I would like something a little bit darker. What colour are you? None what? If you're ever unsure. No, wrong tone. I hope you faff as much as me. Just want a little bit of a dark, that's it. Honestly, a faff. And have you noticed, every time I get a pencil out, they're not sharp enough? Light aqua and China blue. So China blue PC 1100 Prismacolor. I mean, that's just not sharp enough. I don't even going to try. I don't think this one's been sharpened forever. So I'm just going to add a little bit of that. Forgotten the colour already. China blue. Told you there was no hope for me. So a little bit of that darker China blue. Let's just add a little bit up here as well. Maybe a little bit. You can see how light I'm just doodling on there. So then we'll go to the light aqua and just come in with a little bit of the light aqua. Not pressing too hard, so just adding a little bit of that light aqua. Let's add a little bit here as well. We're just giving part of that circle a little bit more definition, that's all. I think we'll honestly. The amount of time I take just to create a project. So if you haven't got pencils, just use your oxides. I've now decided to go sort of around the edge of the floral, just with that darker blue. So we're going round all that circle just with that darker blue, and then I'm coming in with the light aqua and just adding a layer of that. Just to blend it a little bit and just to emphasize the circle a little bit more. So you can see, let me hold that up, the circle has got a little bit more definition, but let's come in a little bit more and just smooth that out a little bit. I'm going straight over the embossing. So I'm sort of smoothing that little bit of colour that I've added. Just to give a little bit more definition. There we go. And then we'll go in again once more with that light aqua. Just to blend those edges. Just to give it just a little bit more definition. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of white here and there. Just so that we've got that more definition just around there. So I'm then going to grab my Inktense pencil. We'll have a little bit of definition around that circle. Now I need to remember I did use a bit of blue, so we need to make sure that we rinse that. And because I've got that watercolour just on there, that watercolour card, it just blends out beautifully. Just blends it out beautifully. And you only have to, because it's that watercolour card, you only have to touch that. So let's just go around here and just add a little bit of water. And then you can take the excess off and you can just blend that out to nothing, absolutely nothing. So let's just add a little bit of that Inktense pencil here. Just add a little bit And again, you can blend it to nothing. Just lovely. We will add our wording to there as well, but now I want to grab my, let's see if I'm going to grab my white pen, or whether we have to use paint. I always think things come to life when you can add a few little touches of white. It sort of brings the whole thing to life. It really does. So I just sort of, with the Embossing, I just add a few white lines where some of the black detail is. I just add a few sort of touches here and there. Is there anywhere? Let's see. Just adding these touches of white. It just brings the whole floral to life. It really does. It makes such a difference if you can just add the little touches of white. Makes a massive difference. And you don't have to be precise. That's what's good about the Embossing. And when you've got a build up of wax on your white pen, just scribble that off and then go back. Just to add a little bit more. There we go. It just brings that to life. Let's add, actually we'll add our little bird first. So then let's grab this one, the shadowed elements, and let's add one of our little birds to the background. Now let's put that book underneath again. Place that underneath. There we go. Make sure you've got the right ink, which is, I usually use the wrong ink because I always pick up the wrong one. And we'll add that there. So I'll just hold that with my finger. We've got our little birdie. And really, again, I should let that dry really. Because the minute you try and do anything with your white pen, it's very difficult if the ink is still wet. So now we'll use our Posca pen. We'll add some beautiful splatters. You can use your gesso or whatever, your paint, your bleed proof paint, or the one I use sometimes as well, the Winsor & Newton gouache, just to add your elements of white. Then I'm going to go back to the Embossing stamp, and I'm going to use the word Embossing. Just add this word in. I just need a spare piece of white card. To add our text, which again I'm going to stamp in that Nocturne ink. just cut our image out. Just cut that down a little bit. What have we got on there? There we go. I can add this to my page, which I'll then add shading underneath. So just grab our adhesive. And I just love sort of putting things in different positions as well. Place the butyl on there. So I've kept my sort of focal composition just here. I've not dotted something up here or down here. I've kept that in the composition. And then I'll just hold that in place, because really I shouldn't try and add shading when the adhesive is not quite dry yet. And then we'll just blend that out like so. Just beautiful. And then that is our page finished, and I just love how that's turned out. Just wonderful. And you can add a few more touches of white if you wish, but I hope you've enjoyed the process, and I hope you enjoy the video. Just show you a little bit more detail. These stamps just work so beautifully together. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I look forward to seeing your interpretation. Love to all, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.